hi everyone. You can hear my voice, but not the music. We have a technical clusterfuck this morning. And actually, the HDMI cable wasn't even plugged in, Michael, from the computer. That's what was going on. I don't know what's happening. But good morning. Clusterfuck number 46. Welcome to Gateway Open Office Hours. I'm your host, Carter Laren. And Ben is
good morning.
Actually running around behind the scenes trying to correct multiple technical failures all at once. So, but
Just
we're here with
audio-visual challenges.
Yeah, we're here with Dr. K.
Yes.
Good
morning.
Good morning. Dr. K is actually Dr. Kirkland, but we call him Dr. K. It's like Dr.
right.
Dre, but more white.
Sure.
And
I've been called Dr. K for 20 years. It's just the easy abbreviation.
I've been to the medical website, and you're Dr. K there as well. So it's not a cannabis change. You've always been Dr. K.
And we tried to Dr. K, DRK, but the trademark people came back saying they'd never seen something so trademarked around 3 initials before.
Really?
So there's a ton of DRK trademarks out there. So we are officially Dr. Kirkland Therapeutics.
I see. Well, sorry to hear that you can't trademark Dr. K, but
that's all right. Yeah. So thank you for having me here at Gateway.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us.
You guys run a great operation here.
You can't say that while we're failing with all the technical issues.
Everybody has technical issues along the way, but I've been here a few times, and you guys definitely have a great thing going on here. So congrats.
I think we're doing well on our core, so thank you. The core of our business is not podcasting. Thank God. For those of you who are watching live or wherever, you can get us on YouTube. You can download the podcast on iTunes or Google Play or wherever, and obviously every Friday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook. So I don't think I want to talk about too much news, because I don't think there was a lot of news other than Jeff Sessions was like more annoying and more of an asshole than he was previously, which I didn't know was possible. I don't really want to talk about it too much. Michael, do you have anything to say about that? Any thoughts? No?
My thought there is I don't know if he has much support in Congress for that kind of letter. But
well, there's a rumor that he's next on Trump's hit list, so that would be great. Although I think the deputy attorney general is like a mini Jeff Sessions.
A mini.
I'm not sure
a mini me.
Better.
A mini me.
Yeah. But
we'll see.
What a douchey hypocrite who's like, yes, I agree with these memos and the current state of everything, and then kind of quietly trying to reach out without anyone noticing and saying, give me some funding to go after legitimate businesses. So
for especially our space on the medical side of stuff, I think there's there's growing information research from all around the world, which is going to be pretty tough to argue against. And I think when you look publicly at the benefit from kids through to elderly are getting in the medical space here and abroad, I just can't see it staying this way for too long.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. He doesn't even have anything that I could call a remotely rational view of it. It's not like he's saying, well, there's some medical benefit, but I'm worried about X, Y, and Z, and this needs to be studied, and people shouldn't smoke before they're 20, under 25 or something. Like he's not making any kind of rational argument. He's just
And listen, being from Canada, we can look north and see the federal legislation that's being rolled out there, and I think it could be a great example for the U.S. and G7 and the rest of the world probably.
Well, look at the devastating impact it's had on Canada and all the violence and craziness and terrorism that's happened as a result of cannabis in Canada. No one wants that here. I think
a bit of
California. There were some crosswords at a hockey game the other day.
California humor.
I saw. Yeah, it's not. The guy it's probably not humor. Don't blame California for me.
Might have fallen asleep.
Yeah. Okay, so look, let's get into your background a little bit, just to
sure.
Get people up to speed. One of the reasons we wanted to have you on the show is there's not a lot of topical products on the market, and none that I'm aware of that are coming from a doctor who's actually been in the medical field. So you've been a chiropractor since '98, is that right?
97, so 20 years in practice. Actually, I think 20 years last month officially. So 5,000 patients in the practice, and we've seen every ache and pain and lots of serious stuff, and I know how people recover, what they recover from, what works well, so I have great kind of clinical experience to bring to the table here. And what I've seen in the last few years in Canada again is that the federal medical cannabis situation brings people to the office with lots of questions. How can I benefit? What can I do? Where do I go? Where do I get advice? And in Canada right now, you can still only get flour or concentrated oil, and the oil you would then have to do something with. So as a medical specialist, to know that someone would have to go out and roll a joint and smoke on their balcony in freezing cold weather and in Canada in January just doesn't make sense from a medical perspective. So, we from Canada, we look south and we do see a lot of consumer goods product development that hasn't happened in Canada yet. And I took a look at the topical space, and I see there are some products out there, but a lot of them are kind of mom and pop shops. And I guess the people involved in their own project, they perhaps don't have the medical expertise and experience that I have. So I was very interested in creating not only a business opportunity, but an opportunity for public, for consumers, for patients to be able to benefit from cannabis. And so my clinical experience of helping one-on-one patients in the practice, it's always been my objective to try and create something bigger than that. And so from a business perspective, being able to get product onto the market like this and reach a lot of people and hopefully benefit a lot of people has been a real fantastic thing for me. So every day I get up excited to pursue this and really roll it out as far, wide, and as fast as we can.
Now, what were you? You've got I think so. Green Avenue is your chiropractic clinic, right?
Yeah. So if I give you a bit of that history, 97 I graduate. We go to the UK. I work in London, England, and I ended up in an unbelievable practice right in the center of everything. So from rock stars through to royalty to everybody in the practice. So for me, it was fantastic, formative experience. At a young age, professional experience, dealing with lots of high-end people and demanding people and international scene. So that was really amazing for me. We spent 5 years there, then we came back to Montreal, and it had always been my goal to open up a multidisciplinary space. So we opened up the practice in Montreal. We have multiple therapists, multiple professionals in the practice, and that's been running for 15 years. It's still running. It's open today. I might be in sunny California, but the practice is open in Montreal. So that's a bit of the background.
And you've got a naturopath there, like Kim Corbett, I think is her name, right? And so, was your office already looking at non-chiropractic help for people?
Over the years we've had life coaches there. We've had athletic therapists. But the core services have been chiropractic, massage therapy, acupuncture, naturopath, primarily.
So you hadn't been prescribing other topicals or nutraceutical type stuff for people so much. It was
my professional experience is that I recommend home care. So acknowledging that people can come and see me, but they need help when they're not in the office with me, and ultimately to be able to help educate somebody, inspire them, and give them tools to help themselves is really my goal. So the topicals classically on the market, from OTC topicals through to some of the pharmaceutical, anti-inflammatory cortisone type topicals, I've never been that interested in recommending them or prescribing them, because most of them are really either just a distracting thing. They're cooling, or they heat you up. They make it unpleasant, so your mind is focused on the unpleasant side as opposed to the pain, which maybe has some benefit, but I just didn't see the huge potential.
It's not really
of it,
healing
right?
so
It's
much.
not healing, and then the pharma side of stuff, you get into chemicals, and chiropractic primarily is focused on non-invasive, the best natural solution to the health situation.
Right.
Obviously when you're you got a broken leg or you need surgery,
right,
you go for that for sure. But the musculoskeletal stuff, the everyday, the aches and pains, the posture things, the iPhone related posture,
sure,
neck tension, that. To use a corticosteroid in a cream and to use it regularly, there are side effects. It's going to affect your skin. It's not necessarily going to be a pleasant experience. It doesn't smell nice. It doesn't feel good on your skin. So, enter cannabis. And when you start to do the research and the historical use of cannabis for health, it was used in topicals long before anything else.
Oh, I didn't realize
so,
that.
yeah. So the topical use makes sense, and really the physiological research and the information that's come out really since I'll say since the 80s and 90s about how this does affect your body physiologically, the core science to why it works, the fact that it influences your endocannabinoid system, which is the fancy term really for the way your body regulates stuff. So cannabis has the great potential of creating a positive effect on the overall regulator. Okay, so when you have this positive effect, you have the potential to affect many, many different systems in your body. And so the topicals, are working on the skin. They're affecting those nerve receptors and inflammatory pathways. And really, there's basic science research out there showing that THC is significantly stronger than aspirin, and cannabinoids are stronger than corticosteroids without the side effects. So to me, it's just super exciting to be able to bring these products to market, to give people access to this sort of therapeutic potential and benefit, with limited side effect. And so it ticks so many boxes in terms of my professional experience over the 20 years, and just super exciting to be able to, get people good health.
So patients were coming to you, kind of asking questions already
Yes.
about cannabis.
Yes.
I assume that kind of kicked off your curiosity. You
Yeah.
went and looked at some stuff,
Yeah.
and found that, in your opinion, there was some value to THC and CBD as a.
Yeah, I can look back about a year and a half ago, and I saw Max from Green Flower just 2 days ago at a conference, and I said, listen, thanks for inspiring me, because my first objective was to gain some better understanding as to how does cannabis work and how does it affect your health. So I did lots of research. I did tons of reading. Luckily my clinical experience, I could go and search journals and read through some pretty intense studies and stuff. So I was able to amalgamate a lot of research and get a very good understanding. And then when you start to realize the huge potential benefit of it, and then to look at how people access cannabis and how limited it is, it's just, for sure, there's a huge business opportunity around people bringing consumer goods into the market.
So you said, okay, great. I'm going to go start a business. I'm gonna come up with some formulations that help people using cannabis.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
A couple questions actually. One is there any stigma? I mean, doctors are very respected.
Yeah.
Right. And so, is there any kind of stigma that you had to overcome with? Oh, you're into cannabis now. Here's
to me the fascinating thing is that there's so much interest around this space that there's been zero stigma.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll see what happens as we become more recognized and maybe encounter some other political forces out there. But ultimately, what I say is that this is for the patient. This is for the consumer. So we'll put up with whatever kind of crap we meet along the way in order to get people access to this.
So how did you go about doing this? You came up with some formulas, which I imagine I have an image of you in a lab with test tubes, which probably isn't what happened too much, but that's fine. So you came up with some formulations that worked well.
Yeah.
And then did you go out?
Well, actually,
the
first formulas were terrible.
Oh, okay. Fair. So that was going to be my question. Like, how did you go out and test this? How did you check consumer reaction before you started spending a lot of time and effort building a company? It's kind of important to make sure what you're doing is working. What did you do?
So, I was quickly able to figure out that the topical space was what interested me. Okay, so number one, I knew what direction I was going there. Okay, then to develop products right now, and I think it is still true that the cannabis industry is really still quite small, and the network you can get into is fantastic. So when I started to look into how to develop these products, I was quickly able to get in touch with a lab in Canada that was willing to work with me to help start formulating these bases. Now, the lab is in the cannabis space. They don't have really the experience in consumer goods and products like these topicals. So we were going back and forth with some kind of generic-based formulations and infusing them with active. And we were ending up with products that are on the market. I just have an example here. A lot of products are green.
This is not yours, just to be clear.
This is not ours.
Yeah.
No, they're green. the smell is questionable. Yeah. So that's what we were ending up with through our initial work. They were dry, they were oily, just really not pleasant. They didn't actually stick together well. You couldn't infuse it very well. And so I'll say this is kind of where the first bit of magic happened in this project. That last year, I had a patient come in, and we've had this practice running for a long time. So I have tons of people that I can kind of speak to and pick their brains, and tons of really successful people. And it's fascinating when I've helped them. They've often been willing to say, "Hey, let's go for coffee, and I'll share some of my knowledge with you."
Sure.
So last year, I have a patient come in, and I realize, the mother ran this huge brand in Canada, developed it herself from the ground up, 40 years, ran it privately, eventually sold it, was incredibly successful with it. And so mom is a patient in the practice, and so I happened to see daughter, and I said, I kind of clued in at the end of the appointment. I said, I have this project I'm working on, and I'm sure mom would have have something to share with me that would help me along. And she said, "Oh, my mother loves you for sure. She'll be in touch." Okay. So half an hour later, I get a text, "Please come by. I hear you're up to something. Let's talk." And so from that moment, a day later, a call was made to the president of this biochemist lab, really serious outfit that develops products from pharmaceutical through to cosmetic and everything. Yep. They have biochemists there, and that's where the test tubes and everything comes into the picture. And so right away, we gained access to that. And within a month, we had accelerated the project so dramatically that I'm confident to say we have the best formulations out there in terms of ingredients, in terms of how they have been tested, in terms of how it all comes together, the use of it, the pleasantness of it, the color of it, all that sort of stuff. So cool. There was some magic there that happened over a short period of time that I hope every kind of entrepreneur at some point along their way just gets that light.
Stumbles into it.
Yeah, you flip the switch and suddenly you're traveling 1,000 miles an hour instead of grinding it along there.
Let's talk about bootstrap. It sounds like you're bootstrapped up to this point in the story, at least.
Yeah.
Was it wildly expensive to go pay labs to do these formulations? Was it like how did this work?
Yeah, there were definitely expenses involved for sure, and I think every entrepreneur can relate to this, that it can be quite painful along the way to find ways to fund it and scrounge your own money together and continue with your regular cost of living stuff. Sure. And kids school and clothing and everything else. And,
especially if you have kids.
Yeah, kids are expensive for sure. So to be able to scratch all that together and get it off the ground was definitely a challenge, and I'll say my wife and I are heavily invested in the project, not just emotionally and work-wise, but financially as well. But I think that's important for an entrepreneur you got to have your skin in the game, and
absolutely.
And you got to pay your dues for sure.
Yeah.
So
you didn't, but at this point you didn't have to go raise from anyone else. You just kind of tightened your belt and spent your own money mostly.
Yeah, we had savings and stuff. But for sure that only gets you so far.
Right.
It's definitely expensive to bring a serious product to market. And so it became very apparent through last year again that for sure we had to raise money to give the project legs. Otherwise I could have just rolled it out in a tiny way. And I actually think that for sure is at this point our competitive advantage, because there are a lot of brands out there trying to scratch things together and bootstrap. And I get a feeling that the industry is now past that point.
So this is a really interesting point. I want to linger on it for just a second, because you're right. There's a lot of people who will bootstrap and probably maybe end up with one SKU to start with, right?
Yeah.
And maybe do something cheaper or whatever. That's like, okay, well, we can...
Yeah, like generic packaging, print some labels, stickers, stick it on.
Right. Yeah. And their idea is, I'm going to start with that, and it's going to kind of snowball, and I'll grow from there.
Yeah.
But as I think you correctly pointed out, I think the industry, that's going to get harder and harder in the industry. So you made the decision...
Yeah.
I imagine at some point you made this decision, okay, we could try and do this way, but the right way to do it is going to require an infusion of capital that's bigger than what we're going to put in.
Yeah, and so I think that's where the industry starts to look like any other industry. That there's a lot of investment money flowing in. I think you guys at Gateway Incubator provide a fantastic opportunity for people like myself who would need the expertise and access to the capital to be able to develop whatever the project is. So
just to clarify, you're not part of the Gateway.
No, actually,
we're not pimping our own products right now.
I actually met you guys, after we had done our initial private raise,
right?
Which we're actually very fortunate went very well.
Yeah.
So,
what did you need to raise? What were they looking for? When you were just like, hey, I'm a doctor, I've got a formulation, trust me, or was it like what were they looking for?
Number one, viability for the products in the industry.
And how did you demonstrate viability for products in the industry?
Getting investors comfortable with the knowledge and the data that's out there about what the industry is doing and what the potential is, and then the individual segment within the market, what topicals are potentially doing. Yeah. But again, the advice I got was really tremendous because when you run a brand for 40 years, you test everything. So one of the first comments I got is, well, go do some market research and go do some testing and make sure you can confirm this stuff. Right. So we were fortunate to get quite a sum of investment initially to allow us to go and do this research. So I think that set us apart in the industry again, in that we were able to focus group, do studies on not only the effectiveness of the initial products we were launching, get people to test it over a month and get feedback from that. And I can tell you those results were spectacular, through to confirming the viability of the brand. What do people think of the name of the brand? What do they think of our packaging, our colors, all that sort of stuff. So that's very valuable information when you're going to be launching something. So, but it's expensive to do.
I was going to say that. So, I think you're unusual in that you could convince an investor to pay for research. That's not something that normally happens.
Yeah, I guess that's probably a good point. I mean, and research is expensive, no doubt. I won't give you exact numbers, but we spent 6 figures pretty quickly.
Yeah.
but on the research. So.
In fairness, there's a lower cost, not as effective version that bootstrappers can maybe do to start that process, at least to kind of say, well, here's the kind of stuff that we did. Maybe that's enough to raise money to kind of go do more.
I'll admit that the project and the launch grew in scope very quickly. So even to the point where when I was initially looking at what sort of investment I thought it would take, I presented some of those numbers to my advisors, and they looked at me and said, well, you probably need 3 times that.
Right.
Right? So my comment was, well, where do I get 3 times that?
Yeah.
And they said, well, there's always investment available. Yeah. You just gotta make
work
sure
3 times as hard.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, work 3 times as hard.
Or 30 times as hard, maybe, depending on
30 times as hard. Yeah, but are we in a kind of a luxurious position in terms of having been able to raise capital and be able to do a lot of the stuff? Yes, I think so. Sure. But maybe that's where the Canadian market's quite interesting, because there's such a demand from investors, and the federal legal aspect of the industry. You guys probably see every week there's news about $100 million here, $100 million there, in right. Canadian IPO investments.
It's crazy.
I mean, there's some billion-dollar valuations out there for cannabis companies, right? Who would have ever thought that 5 years ago, right? Yeah. So there's a huge appetite for investment in the Canadian market.
So, but you're a Canadian company, but you'll be distributing in California.
Yeah, think of a parent holding company having assets. We have a holding company that owns the IP for all this, and then we have partnerships and licensing deals and some more kind of complex arrangements in certain jurisdictions. So, for sure, the investors want to know that it's serious, that it's all being done right. You get all the lawyers, attorneys involved, and you rack up some pretty big bills along the way, but it gives you comfort that that things are being done right. And again, back to the Canadian market, the whole IPO thing, and we've already been approached a bunch of times, reverse IPOs, and right. So you just got to set it up right. It's got to be done right from the start, to consider what the potential is in the future.
So you raised some money to go do the research,
Yeah.
which was I'll say customer development, market research, not the formulation research so much.
Yeah.
Although I assume that fed back into maybe some adjustments to the formulas.
Yeah, that was valuable.
And then did you have to go raise another tranche to then go do the branding, kind of like initial rollout of product?
Well, we had an agreement that there was a first tranche for research, make sure everybody was comfortable.
Oh, okay.
And if everybody was, then it had already been negotiated. There was a second large investment that flowed through.
Okay.
So that was all in one agreement.
Right.
But there were two steps, and really it was for myself as well, because the investment continued for me, and certainly the time investment, and now for sure the impact on life at home and practice, and there's an impact there. So the fascinating thing is we got our research completed, we got the reports in, and within 12 hours, everyone had come back and said, "We're in."
Great, green light.
Green light.
That's awesome.
That was another great moment along the way here.
So let's talk about some time frames.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get from kind of, hey, I've got an idea, to working your way through kind of like this kind of thing, and then figuring out a formulation that worked, just to get to the market research? How long did that take you?
Yeah, I'll say again, we were quite fortunate in terms of, when you can speak to the president of the lab, you get things going quickly. Yeah. But I would say for sure 6 months, 9 months.
Okay, so I mean that's
easily.
That's quick. So that's a note to the viewers, right?
Yeah.
6 to 9 months is quickly.
Yes, it is
right?
quick. It is quick.
So
yeah, I'm sure a year and a half.
All right.
Easy.
And then from that point, you went out and did your market research, and then it took another chunk of time to pull together the brand, find partners, set everything up so that you can launch in California, which congratulations, I think is this week.
Yes.
So
Monday. Yeah. Thank you.
How long did that take to kind of do?
As I look back, I would say the biggest thing that surprised me is the length of time to work through the legal agreements with investors.
Fair. So that seems to surprise everyone. And
length of time. I had a couple of points along the way where I thought, okay, we're here, we're done, let's go.
Length of time also translates into dollars.
Yes.
Many dollars often with lawyers, right?
Yeah. So you think there's going to be a 2-page agreement, but it turns into a 39-page agreement with appendix here and appendix there, and but again, having gone through it now, it's a very valuable experience.
Yep.
And when you get to do it right, and you know that it's all right, it's a very comforting base to be able to then move forward on.
Yep.
So be prepared. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and it's going to take more time than you hope it's going to. And I'll share a bit as well from the personal perspective. You're kind of giving birth to your company here, and you want to try and maintain as much of it ownership wise, right? But the truth is, you gotta be willing to to give something up to gain a lot, right? So I had decisions to make around what sort of percentages I was willing to to trade investors for capital,
right.
But smart capital, I would say, is an important thing to try and consider. That I think there is. It's my impression there's quite a bit of money out there. There are lots of sharks trying to.
Yes, some of them are encouraging RTOs, by the way. So be careful of that.
Yes, I know. I know. Lots of sharks, lots of bad deals to be had. It's definitely tempting as a new company to, have someone coming along and offer you $1 million or something, and man, that's it. Let me sign right away. And
right.
Sign away X percentage of revenue forever. It can be expensive when you get down the road. So just be aware. You gotta be smart. You gotta think about it. You gotta get enough capital to know that you can move forward. Hopefully not give everything away in the process.
Yeah, but again, I think smarter capital tends to be cognizant of not trying to take too much away from founders, right?
I agree. From my perspective, my name is on the brand, so they were very interested in making sure that I was keen on hanging around for a long time.
Absolutely, they need you to feel that ownership, and if they take so much away from it, you don't feel ownership anymore. It starts.
We were actually negotiating there's a non-compete clause, because an interesting step is that as a founder you negotiate, but then I also become an employee.
Right.
As the CEO of the company. So now I have this contract, an employment contract with the company that I founded, right? So that's kind of an interesting step. And in that contract, there's non-compete clauses, for sure. The investors, they don't want to invest in this and then have you turn around 6 months later and do the exact same thing somewhere else, right? Yeah. So we were negotiating a non-compete, and that seemed to be going back and forth between the lawyers, back and forth. And one day, one of my investors, we were chatting, and he says, "Listen, are you going to be around for a long time?" I said, "Yeah, this is my baby. I want to be around for a long time." He says, "Well, I hope one day you're at my funeral in 50 years and everybody's happy." Yeah. So let's just tell the lawyers to settle the non-compete and let's move on.
Yeah.
So lots of interesting experiences along the way.
Yeah, perfect. So you've launched now in California. You've got and you didn't, you have the, I'll call it luxury, but I don't want to minimize your efforts to get into it. So you've got the achievement of being able to launch multiple SKUs that I think are really well branded. I mean, I was mentioning earlier before the show, they look like Neutrogena or the like high-end, nice products.
We're very proud of our packaging and our formulations.
Yeah, and which is unique in cannabis. So, I mean, there's not a lot of nicely branded packaged stuff. So
but I think the day of the Ziploc baggie is gone.
It is. I mean, this is this is foreshadowing the cannabis industry. You've launched this out. Now you're kind of focused on getting distribution and getting into dispensaries and in Canada eventually pharmacies. I know you mentioned you actually can't be in Canada until, what you said, June of next year? July of next year?
Yeah, there's this interesting perception that the Canadian market is so far advanced compared to the U.S. and California. And for sure, in some aspects, it is. I mean, just to know that we're working on federally legal situation, Parliament's going to vote on it shortly, and the predictions are that through next year it gets rolled out. One of the timing issues that's up for debate is that we have to go through this provincial distribution model. So all the provinces get a say on age. So is it 18, 19, 20, 21? Is it through dispensaries or pharmacies or online or whatnot? So multiply that by X number of provinces, and it's going to take some time for that to work out. But the best prediction is by June, July of 2018. So right now you can only get flower, you can only get extract oil from these big legal producers. What the Canadian government's looking to do is to acknowledge that if you're going to get cannabis out or marijuana out of the black market, you have to create a fully mature consumer goods market. So they have acknowledged that they have to give the green light to products like this. Yep. So we have government relations people working with us who we're very confident that that's the case for topicals anyways. Come next year, we hear that edibles are going to be the sticking point perhaps.
Really?
Because the Canadian government had two positions: one, get it out of the black market, and two, make it as safe as possible for kids. So they're looking at restricting teenage use. And so you make something shiny and looks like candy, the government gets concerned about it. So we don't know what the actual edible market's going to be like. But again, if you think about getting it out of the black market, they can't. It's unlikely they would completely say no edible whatsoever, because what's the black market going to do? They're going to, they're going to provide the edibles. So
great way to create a black market for something is to ban it.
Yes, exactly.
So, this was, you've started a chiropractic center before, but this was kind of a different beast.
Yes.
Just like personally, what's been the experience as kind of, I'll call you a first-time founder, even though you had a business before. What's been your experience?
I think you gotta get up every day and just go for it. What did I choose here? Every day
no
I'm
one
hustling.
Can see it.
Oh yes, okay, here we go. Every day I'm hustling.
Yes.
But you got to be in a space that you're passionate about. You got to have that passion to get up and go for it every single day. You got to have the courage to accept that I don't have tons of experiences in branding products. You got to have the courage to say, someone else has done it. I'm going to go and do it.
Get help.
Get help along the way. Get the right team members involved. But you gotta lead, and you gotta be courageous and go for it. I have that kind of by nature. I was thinking, as I was arriving here today, I haven't worked for somebody since I was 22.
Okay.
So
pretty good.
I'm 46. So quite a long time. So I just have that kind of independent streak in me. And my father-in-law is often quoted as saying, "You are your own security."
Yep.
So don't count on someone else to to keep you going. So have the passion, have the drive, have the courage to go out and do it. Accept that you don't know everything about everything. Get the right people involved. Understand that people who are successful and have been there are often very keen on sharing that experience.
Yep.
And, so ask questions, and often successful people love to talk about their successes. So have them describe how they got there, and pick up those little jewels of knowledge along the way.
I was joking with someone the other day that, once you're an entrepreneur, you can set your own schedule and take vacation whenever you want. It's just like that, right? Tell me about the work.
Right after this, I'm going surfing for a month.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Not.
No. Was it harder than you thought? I guess was my question, or was it like, oh yeah, this is what I expected?
A bit of both. I would say it is getting harder, because it's one thing to launch and say, hey, we've launched. It's another thing to actually build a customer base
right.
and figure out distribution and manufacturing and everything, So it was funny. I said to my wife on Wednesday night after the event, our launch event was over, I said, I don't know, I feel like a little disappointed. Like you work so hard to get to your launch, and then suddenly you're there and it's over.
Yeah. Well, the launch is the starting line, not the finish line. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So acknowledge that for sure. I mean, you could take a lot of pride in knowing that this is now available on the market, but the demands are getting very significant. And I actually pointed that out. I like to send my investors an update email regularly to let them know, because there's a million things happening. They don't want to read a million things, but I send out a point form email pretty regularly. And so the last one had a bit of personal observation that I acknowledge that my time is limited. I have a lot of energy, but my energy is limited. So making sure you get teammates on and team members to help continue to grow something is really crucial.
Yeah. So and have you built how many team members do you have?
I do find the cannabis industry very fascinating right now, because it is considered still a small industry. So we've got into this unbelievable network, and as a result of that, we've been able to onboard lots of people. So we have a fantastic chief marketing officer, heavily involved in the industry. We've got a sales manager, heavily involved in the industry, tons of contacts. We've got brand ambassadors, so we're building out a brand ambassador program where we get these events, demo days at different dispensaries and locations, so people can test the product. We have, at this point, as we're allowed to at the moment, we have samples. So we have lots of samples going out to different dispensaries and things. Brand ambassadors, we're onboarding sales reps right now, and then I have a couple of office people. So I think last count, we're getting close to 10 people. Which again, if you come back to the the finances and raising money, one of the things that for sure was pointed out to me by my advisors at the beginning is that you gotta, if you're gonna get into the race, you gotta make sure you have the ability to race along there. So having the capital to get a team up and running, to be able to achieve a lot of that is really important. For sure, as the sole founder. There are only so many hats you can wear and so much time in a day. So at a certain point, I know if I didn't have the team, I just become the bottleneck, and you slow your growth down tremendously. So get great people and get them on board and get them excited in the journey and go for it.
So how is this, you also have, a lot of founders are, well, the stereotypic founder is like, the 20-something with no kids, eating ramen and sleeping on someone's couch.
Although I have slept on the couch in the office, actually.
Yes, the couch in the office is absolutely, that happens.
Yeah.
But, you're married, you have kids. There's a lot more expenses to that kind of a life and expectations, and you can't just kind of say to your family,
yeah,
sorry, we're eating ramen and living in a shack for the next year.
Yeah.
How has that been?
Yeah, my experience is, it's easy to kind of say in retrospect now, but I think if you try and share as much along the way so people understand what you're going through, what your goals are, it's fun to dream too, think about where your dreams possibly take you, but don't be unrealistic in that situation. So the kids are excited about this. I think maybe I can say I think they think Dad's pretty cool, even though they might not say it exactly to my face. But they're excited about it. I did a fun thing. It's probably not anything official, but we did a little stock certificate for them. So I think
that's cool.
And I actually made them give us money, for the stock. So they're kind of invested in the the company. And so
how old are
my son doesn't quite get it. Every couple of days he'll say, "So what are my stocks worth today?"
Yeah. Wait, how old are your kids?
15 and 13.
Okay, that's interesting.
So they're old enough to realize. My son's quite convinced that his stocks, just a handful in the company, are going to get him a Tesla Model S or
well, maybe Dad will get him a Tesla Model.
Maybe. But I'm realistic as well that you can't. Yeah. I don't think you can truly create a success just based on a financial desire.
No,
if you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah,
the financial success to me is really a byproduct of doing something you really love and bringing something to market that other people benefit from, need, enjoy.
Yeah.
So
for
sure, there's exciting stuff,
earlier,
but
right?
It's the passion, it's the excitement of it, but you got to be realistic at the same time. So, but I think the more you communicate with people what you're going through and hey, I'm pretty tired today because I've done, 50,000 things today. It doesn't mean you can just go lie down and not participate in family life and everything, but
at least
hopefully
they know.
some understanding along the way. I mean, my wife is fantastic. She's been very understanding of what I've been up to. So it's great. So hopefully other entrepreneurs have that kind of support network for themselves. I think being a little bit older, perhaps than the average startup entrepreneur, I think that gives you good perspective as well, for what it's worth.
What's been your kind of biggest challenge that you didn't expect that you ran into that you had to plow through or avoid or whatever?
The biggest challenge was actually around the manufacturing side of stuff. Even though we've had access to these fantastic labs and package manufacturers and everything, just realizing that business happens every day, and even though we're excited about this, companies have schedules and manufacturing schedules, and so you think you're going to have your tubes made within 2 weeks by a company, and that's not the case.
Right.
They have production. It's so when you get the email saying, well, your tubes will be ready in 10 weeks.
Right.
And you were hoping 2
and
weeks.
by the way, you're going to be burning through cash that whole time.
Exactly.
Right,
so, try and be smart about your cash flow and try and keep your expenses down until you can get close to that revenue phase. That would be important. But, accept that other businesses that you're getting involved with other suppliers, they might be mature businesses with lots of stuff going on. So don't necessarily expect them to drop everything for you and get you up and running within a week or two or something.
Sure.
So that was one of my bigger challenges, just realizing the time it takes to bring products to market, to get other suppliers involved in our manufacturing side of stuff. And at this point now, we're forecasting our sales, keeping in mind again that reorders on packaging and supplies and whatnot, you still deal with the same kind of time frame, 8 to 10 weeks. So. We're very aware at this point that we don't want to let our customers, our dispensaries down, suddenly running out of product. Yeah. So we're very quickly developing forecasting models and supply chain models and all that sort of good business stuff to know that we can hopefully supply a very good demand.
Awesome.
And not run short.
Awesome. Any final advice to founders starting in the cannabis industry? in general that you would, I mean, that was some good advice you just gave, but.
I would say it's such an incredibly exciting space for so many reasons, from the historical use of it to such a massive market coming out of the black market into a fully regulated market. The excitement is tremendous. So I think if you're thinking about it, if you've got a good idea, you got to go for it. You got to, I was saying to my investors right from the start that the race is on, and let's make decisions, make good decisions, get the right information, but really go for it. So, I think if you sit around for a year or two humming and hawing about, I don't know, should I do this, should I not do it? Maybe pick it up and do something this week and then not touch it for 2 months. It's going to be too late. You're going to be you're going to miss. For sure, it's the start of an industry, but why not get in right at the start?
Absolutely.
So that would be my advice. Definitely, go for it. Make sure you have a good product. Make sure you have something that has legs.
That other people think is a good product, not just yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. You're not going to build much of a company if you're the only one who's willing to buy your product, for sure. So so doing some good market research and getting out there and talking to people, and we've been very fortunate. I honestly haven't had a single person, when I've told them what we're doing, when I've shown them what we're doing, I haven't had anybody say, that's a crappy idea.
Right.
So we've been fortunate from that, but for sure, work hard, make a decision, and just go for it. Because if you don't, you're gonna miss the opportunity.
Well, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to find out more? Or?
So we are, we're end of June here, so we're mid-June. So we have some production up and running, but our main retail launch is beginning of July. So we're going to be in dispensaries throughout Northern California, Southern California. We have some online things developing. Our website is drkirkland.com.
Okay.
And I like to spell out the last name because it is a bit of a challenge, and we might spend some marketing dollars on getting my name spelled right out there. But it's so the website is drkerklaan.com. So it's the 2 A's that throw people. So the website's up and running. We've got a great website. We're going to be onboarding those dispensaries, so you'll be able to find where the products are sold throughout California. And then we have negotiations underway for other states. And Canada, stay tuned. I have lots of Canadians asking me already, where can we buy the product? But you'll be able to buy the product once we get the
Twitter.
green
Do you
light.
want to give anyone your Twitter handle out?
drkirkland.com. My wife will laugh. She's a social media expert. I'm terrible at social media stuff.
So don't bother. Fair enough.
So Twitter and Facebook, and I'm embarrassed to say, please check out the website, and that'll lead you to.
You should. There's a hire that needs to be made there. Let's just.
There's definitely. Geez, I missed that in the business development side of stuff. But Twitter, I can say Twitter is up and running, and Facebook is up and running. So please. Find us and check us out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thanks everyone. We'll see you next week at 10 a.m. on Facebook on Friday on 10 a.m. And you can follow us on Twitter. You can, like I said earlier, you can download from iTunes, YouTube, everywhere else. And we might actually have a different set next week, possibly. So thanks to Michael for dealing with all the technical crap that's failing behind the camera. And we'll see everyone next week. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us.